Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. And that's freedomthroughastrology.com. I'm your astrologer. My name is Donald Patak. There's my contact information, standard YouTube copyright. No, my content may not be used to train AI LLMs unless I'm appropriately compensated. That involves a residual check as well. All generous. Keys to the reading part one, because I do read astrology differently. I use what's called constellation-based astrology, also known as true sidereal astrology. This is astrology by the visible sky. Now the cats decide to act up. This is astrology by the visible sky. Tropical astrology fixed the signs to seasons back in or around 280 CE, whatever you use. Precession of the equinox, though, says because of the wobble of the Earth on the spring equinox, the sign slowly changes. That's how we arrive at the age of Pisces and are moving towards the age of Aquarius. Tropical astrology keeps us frozen in the age of Aries. So I'm using the visible sky. The planets are where they are in the sky, not where they were almost 2,000 years, or actually in the realm of 1,800 years ago. And in using the visible sky, I have 13 signs. Between Scorpio and Sagittarius is a fucus. It's the sign of the wounded healer. It's of a person. The symbol is a person holding a snake by the head and the tail. And in ancient times, a snake symbolized knowledge. So the mythos are that the Asclepius or fucus were wounded, and the gods came and taught them how to heal themselves, and then they took that knowledge and used it to heal other with similar wounds. That's the intention of the sign. And I also use the natural size of the constellations because they're all different sizes. Virgo is huge at just under 50 degrees. Aries barely hits 25 degrees. The constellations in the visible sky are all different sizes, and I honor and respect that. And I use what are called the astrological midpoints. It's a system developed by Athen Shimenti. The IAU boundaries are arbitrarily drawn. And Athen noted when he was zooming in on the border between Scorpio and Ophiuchus that there were actually stars from Scorpio pushed over into Ophiuchus. And he noticed that in other constellations as well. So he took a look at the zodiac belt, last bright star of constellation A, first bright star of constellation B. What's the halfway point? Works pretty good. So it keeps the stars in the proper constellations for the most part. Works pretty well. I think it's more accurate. Keys to the reading, part two. I interpret using what's called evolutionary astrology, which says that these constellations or these transits are lessons to learn, and in that you have freedom of choice. You are fated to face these transits, but how you're going to work with them is up to you. You can take the high road, you can take the low road. If you don't like where you're going, you can always change. These are the weekly edition. This is the weekly edition, so these are universal lessons for everyone. So do have some compassion on your fellow Earth travelers or ground pounders, whatever you want to call us. Dates and times are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone, as I am outside of Buffalo, New York. I am operating within 1 degree of exact. That makes these transits manageable. There are weeks where it's very busy, this week being one of them, and where if I had it wider, I'd be overwhelmed and you'd be lost. It'd be very, very confusing. So 1 degree is when things are most intense and you're most likely to notice them. Outside of that degree, yeah, you'll sense it, but not as intense. Capricorn, the software that I'm using is Capricorn by Prometheus. And all my interpretations are my own. I have my own notes from when I was taking astrology courses and my own books. So all interpretations are my own. I do not use AI at all. There are astrologers who are surrendering interpretations to AI. I'm not one of them. I am a school teacher, technically a school librarian, and the rule is whoever does the work does the learning. And the only way I'm going to get better as an astrologer is to interpret my own charts. AI denies you the opportunity to learn. I'll get off my soapbox. These are the weekly transits for, hold on a second. That did not save. Why did that not save? 1 second. I did have that noted that that slide needed correcting. For some reason, it didn't save. Welcome to the week of August 10th through 16th, 2026. We do have the sun in Leo, so we are in Leo season. The moon is fairly steady this week, beginning in Gemini and ending in Virgo. It ended Gemini on Sunday night, which is when I'm recording this. And aside from a short stint in Cancer, it's Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. All right, so we don't have a lot of sign changes, so it's a fairly stable and steady moon. Anyone who knows anything about Leo moon, about the sign Leo anyways, didn't have a laugh at that. But the moon is relatively stable. We do have a new moon eclipse in Leo on August 12th, and it will be exact at 13:45 Eastern time, just for your own time zone. I'm really not going to see much of it here. And I will cover that eclipse when we get to it. Active planets of the week, of course, the sun because of the eclipse, but beyond that, our real power players for the week are going to be our three inner planets. Mercury, learning and communication. Venus, relationships, creativity. I've heard some people talking about values with Venus, and I understand that, and I can agree with that. And then Mars, learning courage and assertiveness. No sign changes this week, so we're good there. We just had, last week we had 3 sign changes, which was a little intense. We do have some long transits going on. Neptune and Pluto are still in a sextile, both retrograde. And we do have Chiron working with the north and the south nodes. North and the south nodes are kind of playing a role this week as well, because that's how we have the eclipse. It's the sun and the moon working with the nodes of the moon. So we do have that as an influence as well. But Chiron is working with the north and south nodes. And then we have our retrograde parade of Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron. Those are all working in retrograde. And retrograde merely is a time of reflection. A lot of people get into panic attack about retrograde. Really, it's a time of reflection. Do I like the path that I'm on? Do I like the way things are going? And if not, I can change. And it's also a time of inner work. So there we go with that. And let me go to the next slide, pull myself down here. All righty. And this is our week. And as you can see, there is a lot going on. We do have, doodle tool, a cluster here in our new transits. We do have the cluster here. And then we have a secondary cluster that begins, more over the weekend. I'm not worried about this up here. Well, actually, I'll talk about that in a second. So we do have this big cluster of Tuesday through Friday-ish, and then Friday through Sunday and into next week. So we do have that. Most intense day of the week will be Wednesday with that new moon eclipse. A lot happening on that day. Let's see. I'm going to start with the moon instead. Changed up a little bit. We do have the moon begins the week in Gemini, emotionally curious. Tuesday morning, it goes into Cancer, so a little self-care being necessary. Wednesday morning, right before the eclipse, it enters into Leo, so learning self-expression. And then Friday in the afternoon, it enters Virgo, time of self-improvement, learning emotional skill, emotional intelligence. Okay, this is my cat Kit. She's scratching herself and throwing her hair all over the place. There's your cat commercial. So that's the moon. Again, relatively stable. It will be a little intense on Wednesday because of that eclipse. And what does make the eclipse is when the sun is conjunct the moon, or in this case, it's conjunct the moon and then conjunct the south node and opposing the north node. So we will be talking about that. All right. Let's go here now. This dotted line, everything above this dotted line is old transits. Everything below the dotted line is new transits. So in the beginning of the week, Monday into Tuesday, we do have a number of transits that are ending. And then we do have our long transits. You do have the Neptune, Pluto, and technically it's the nodes transiting Chiron, but dealing with that, And then we were looking for our influential planets of the week. I don't like the color they use for Mercury here, but as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, six transits involving the planet Mercury, plus this one that's ending right here. That's 7. So we have 7 transits involving Mercury, and all of this involves your ability to learn, communicate, and it's the art of paying attention. That's essential with Mercury. You're paying attention so you can learn and communicate appropriately. Secondly, we have Venus, and we do have these 2 transits from last week, and then we have one, whoops, 2 transits this week, plus Mercury is aspecting as well. So we do have that. And again, with Mercury, relationships, creativity. I just heard an interesting discussion on Mercury also, or not Mercury, but Venus being your values. And again, I can understand and sympathize with that. So you could talk about values if you wanted. And then last but not least, we talked about Mars. And we do have Mars. In this forecast, only the South Node popped up. When I did a much longer one for the month, it also brought up the North Node. That did not come up in next week's forecast, but I am including it in this week's forecast. We do have Mars triggering the nodes, and you also have Mars in a square to Neptune. So this is all learning courage and assertiveness, learning to stand up for yourself. Whoops. So those are our influential planets this week. A lot happening with the inner planets, and they're all going to play a role when we do hit with this eclipse. So, one second. Sorry about that. Clear drawings, close the doodle tool out. Okay. And show. Okay, here we go with this. And again, I don't have my PowerPoint slide with all these things. There's a lot going on this week. And again, I don't have my hand bandaged up right now because I was soaking it earlier. But as you can see, I mean, I'm bending the finger as far as I can. And when I use it too much, it goes numb. So we're just going to have to deal with the me drawing things out. I'm going to begin with the long transits. Then we will go into the transits that are ending this week. And then I will talk a little bit about the moon because we do have the moon in Gemini. And then I will work into our new transits. So our long transits, we do have Neptune in Pisces and a sextile to Pluto. Sextile is an excitement or interest. So Neptune and Pisces, these are both retrograde. So this is all happening internally. It's a time of reflection, time of internal work. Neptune and Pisces don't just do something, be there. Be present, be in the moment. Are you learning to be present? Are you learning to be self-aware? Are you connecting with your higher self as well? Neptune is the planet of spirituality and your ability to connect to your higher self and the divine as you perceive it. So as you're getting those higher levels of connection and being present, that's creating an interest in Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto is the planet of transformation and healing these deep soul wounds, as I've been reading. But it's healing these deep inner wounds. From in the style of astrology that I read, the moon represents the soul. The Pluto can represent a deep soul wound or a deep wound in your life. So this is a really deep inner wound that you're healing and transforming. And in Capricorn, it's doing the work of transforming and healing. So are you, so this is a time of reflection. So as you're becoming more aware of yourself, are you doing the work to heal and transform this deep inner wound? Are you aware? And are you developing that awareness of what it is and how you can heal it and ideally, get over it and release it? The shadow, Neptune tries to numb and escape the pains of life any way it can, dulling the pains of life. Also living in idle fantasies. Sextile becomes a sense of nervousness. Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto gets lost in the darkness, focusing on the wounds, bitterness, cynicism, nihilism, emptiness. And in Capricorn, feeling lonely and isolated. So you've fallen into this empty, lonely, isolated fantasy. So that's long transit number 1. And then long transit number 2 deals with the nodes of the moon. When we have the south node in Leo, the north node in Aquarius, and they are working with Chiron in Pisces. So these are always in opposition to each other and in varying degrees. Sometimes they're exactly one, really close within that 1 degree, and sometimes they fall out. But one thing about the nodes in this situation is that the nodes, their orbit getting back to whatever their starting point is just over 18 years. I think it's 18.4, 18.6 years. Can't remember off the top of my head. So really, these are the nodes triggering Chiron. So in this situation, the south node, what that does is way I read the south node is it points out how you hold yourself back. So it's focusing on self-doubt, criticism, concerns. It's those types of things that you have about yourself. But in Leo, it's the pointless drama. Look to where the south node is in your natal chart, and then how is it bringing up this egocentric drama? And the south node is helping you to become aware of how you do that. That's the ideal of the south node. And this is in a trine, which is a support. This is easy energy to work with. A little bit goes a long way. It's like putting in a quarter to a slot machine, pulling the lever and winning like $100 or $1,000. You put in a little bit, goes a long way. So this is a support. And Chiron retrograde in Pisces. Chiron is the asteroid of healing. So you're reflecting on healing what? Your spiritual self, spiritual wounds. So as you become aware of this pointless drama, how is this helping you to heal and release the spiritual wounds in your life? And then we have a sextile to the north node. And again, we said the sextile was a sense of excitement or interest. North node in Aquarius is taking your life's purpose and your life's destiny. The north node is how you heal that south node issue, or how you address it most successfully. With the south node in Leo, right now, the best way to address that with the north node, just ate dinner, is to make your life's purpose, your life's destiny authentic to yourself. And again, look to see where it is in your natal chart, and then how do you make that authentic and true to you? So as you're making your destiny authentic to yourself, how is that healing you spiritually? And in what ways? How is that helping you to release those wounds? So as you're aware of how you're holding yourself back and making your destiny authentic to yourself, and you're healing that and letting it go, you're able to see these things in balance. How is this helping you to heal and release these spiritual wounds? The shadow, instead of releasing these, instead of being aware, you're very aware of these of the south node, because instead of being aware of them, you're reliving the past, you're reliving the problems. And this is a childish, egocentric drama king, drama queen. And this can be playing it out on the world stage, demanding everybody give it attention, or trying to hide away and not be seen at all. It's like that, you have that student that knows the answer, but they don't offer their hand up because they don't like being, for whatever reason, they don't like being seen. And they don't want, everybody else in the class didn't do the homework, but this kid always does their homework. Well, who did their homework? And the kid's afraid to raise their hand, It's kind of childish drama. So how are you holding yourself down and back with pointless drama? And then the North Node, you're denying your destiny. And how are you messing your destiny up? In Aquarius, you're either acting out in the most extreme way possible. You're making it as gaudy and tacky as you possibly can, over the top, or you're just selling out to the expectations of others. And in both of these cases, when you're reliving childish drama and you're giving up your destiny to the expectations of others, or just literally throwing it underneath a steamroller jammed in first, this a lot of damage creates a sense of nervous that either which case, instead of healing, you're wounding yourself more deeply and trying to escape the pain, numb the pain, or just live in a fantasy that, somehow all this stuff that you're doing is really, you're not the problem, and everybody else is the problem, and all these wounds you're suffering are their fault, and you're not the problem in any way, shape, manner, or form. So that ends that out. Ending this week, we do have Mercury in Cancer. Squaring Chiron, and a square is a challenge whose purpose is to strengthen you. So as you're learning self-care, you're learning to nurture and care for yourself, how is that challenging you? How is that like a stepping stone and strengthening you to heal and release wounds? So importance of learning self-care. The shadow here of Mercury is you're that know-it-all, or someone who can't learn it all. In Cancer, you're defensive, either taking swipes at people or trying to hide away. The square becomes a stumbling block that leads you to wounding yourself more deeply and doing whatever you can to numb the pain and try to escape. We do have Venus in Virgo. Make sure I got this right. Trining Pluto. The outer planets are getting a workout, a little bit of a workout here. This week, and the outer planets are all getting worked out. So this is another trine. Again, this is a support. Venus in Virgo is looking and saying, how can you improve your skills in relationships or in creativity? Venus is also rest and recreation. And it's also time for you to work with your values and anything improving your values. I've got to develop and flesh that out more. So I am going to focus on what I usually call it, relationship skills, creativity. Venus can also be how you have fun, rest and recreation. But when you're improving yourself in those ways, how is that supporting your healing of these deep wounds? And you're looking at it, you're working with these other people, you're going to express, share your artistic, your creative side, and that's in the physical mediums, it can be in music. How is that a deeply healing experience for you? Now, how is that helping you to do the work of healing and transforming? And this is on the inner world. So all wounds, you heal inside and then you work on the outside. The shadow here, Venus can be slick, manipulative, and lazy. So it can be trying to control people in relationships. It can plagiarize in creativity, claiming that, I created this artwork and in reality, all you did was use AI to generate it. Don't get me started. And that's a slippery slope downhill into darkness, cynicism, pessimism, and in Capricorn, isolation and loneliness. So as you're trying to control people or being fake in your art and your creativity and not learning that at all, this leads you into darkness, loneliness, and isolation. And again, we do have Venus in Virgo, opposite Neptune in Pisces. So again, as you're improving your relationships, you're improving your creativity. Opposition is a time of reflection. Neptune in Pisces, don't just do something be there, be present, be aware. How is your developing relationship skills, developing your creativity, helping you in your spiritual life, your spiritual awareness? How is this helping you connect to your higher self, your whatever you envision, divinity to be? So that's a time of reflection. The shadow here again, how is being slick, manipulative, lazy in relationships? That's trying to control people, or again, not putting any real effort into any sort of creativity. And this becomes a power struggle and throws life out of balance. And you're just trying to numb the pain. You see the problems that it's causing, so you're retreating into some sort of isolation and some sort of fantasy. Oh yeah, everybody looks up to my art. Oh, I have all these friends, most in all these 2,000 friends on Facebook. How many of them do you really know? Look at all these friends I have on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok followers, etc. Really? It's shallow, it's superficial, it's a fantasy. And last but not least, we have the moon begins the week in Gemini. Emotionally, the moon is your soul, it's your emotions. You're curious, you're inquisitive, wanting to learn something new, letting go of old informations, updating them with new ideas, and also looking for new opportunities to learn new ideas. You're curious and inquisitive. That was old. That was last month stuff. I'm kind of bored with it. What's new? Looking for something interesting, something that piques your curiosity. In the shadow, the emotional self, moody, irrational, and distracted. Irrational. Making up new words here. I should go into politics. And distracted and unfocused. ADD, ADHD on espresso. And you just getting yourself constantly caught in these mental arguments that lead you nowhere. Okay, we're going to go to the end of the day, Monday. Late Monday evening here in the East Coast, we begin with Venus in Virgo in a trine to Uranus in, Taurus. Venus in Virgo, becoming more skilled in relationships and creativity. Uranus in Taurus is finding the peace and strength that comes from your being your authentic self. So as you're developing these relationship skills, how are you learning to present your authentic self? What peace do you find in your relationships from being your authentic self or in your creativity? And this is a trine. So trine, like I said, a little bit of energy goes a long way, produces a lot of positive results. The shadow here, Venus, slick, manipulative, lazy, and in Virgo is driven. Unrealistic expectations, perfectionism, these high standards that you're never going to be able to meet. So you either drop the bar or you don't try at all, or look for the easy way out. And with Uranus, instead of you being your authentic self, you're either acting out to get a reaction or you're selling out to try to fit in. Looking for friends and trying to fit in with the cool kids. So you buy the expensive shoes, buy all the fashionable clothes, trying to be someone that you're not, you're being fake. And that's the lazy way out. That's also the eccentric. Oh, you guys aren't wearing the latest fashion, but I am. You guys aren't listening to the latest popular group. I have it on my brand new whatever. You're being fake. And Uranus and Taurus, you're not being who you are, and it's out of laziness. So you're looking for the easy way out there. But Taurus can also be the bull in the china shop. And very destructive. Our other Monday transit, we have our Mars just entered Gemini. Having the courage to learn, courage to speak up. Hopefully you can see that. Courage to learn, courage to speak up, courage to pursue your own interests. What interests you? Have the courage, have the guts to chase that idea. Chase it down that rabbit hole. Creates an interest in what? Inner healing, inner spiritual healing. How is following your own curiosities? How is learning to speak up for yourself healing these inner spiritual wounds? The shadow. Mars descends into fear, and that can come out as anger and come out as cowardice. In Gemini, if you want to talk about a war of words, it's right there. Or it can be a person who won't speak up for their own interests, won't speak up for themselves, won't stand up for themselves, gets pushed around, creates a sense of nervousness that leads to deep spiritual wounding. You know, saying the wrong thing the wrong way. Yeah, you'll hurt the other person, but you'll hurt yourself as well. And this is an inner wound. And not standing up for yourself, not speaking for yourself, that's deeply wounding as well. Okay, I'm going to close this out, pull this over this way, pull myself, there we go, over here. I'm going to go to the end of the day on Tuesday. And we have Mercury in Cancer, learning to heal, also learning to rest, learning to express your needs. Opposite Pluto in Capricorn. We talked that about healing a dark wound and healing a deep wound and being able to face the darkness as well and doing that work that leads to that inner transformation. So as you're learning to rest, learning to heal, learning to express your needs, that's reflecting on, hey, how is this helping me to heal? How's this helping me do the work of healing? What can I learn that will help me heal? Shadow, Mercury, just unfocused and distracted, not expressing itself. 2 + 2 = squirrel. Actually used to have a cat called Squirrel. I miss him. So it's distracted, it's lost, it's mentally lost, it's defensive, so it can take swipes at people. Crabs have claws. Or it can try to be invisible and hide away. This is an imbalance that leads to wounding, falling into darkness, loneliness, and isolation. So it's becoming mentally defensive. How is this throwing your life out of whack and leading to deeper wounding, feelings of loneliness and isolation? Now, next is, make sure I got this. Mercury trine Neptune. I have to write this out for some reason that did not save. So Mercury is also trining Neptune. How did I not get that on my blog? But it's here. I probably forgot to type it up. There's just so much happening this week. And I thought, you know what? I'm human. I make mistakes. How is self-care supporting spiritual awareness? And you being aware of who you are, being aware of your spiritual needs, being aware of your inner spiritual needs, and how is this also helping you to connect to your higher self? What is your higher self telling you your actual needs are? You're taking time to rest, learning to be aware of your needs and being able to express them. And how can this help you become more aware of your connection to your higher self, your connection, your spiritual needs? The shadow, again, that mental defensiveness, slippery slope downhill into fantasy land, trying to escape and numb the pain any way possible. And getting lost. Okay, now we do have Mars sextiling the south node, and it will also be at a trine to the north node. It didn't come up on this model, but it came up on the monthly model. So anytime I see a planet making an aspect to the node, one of the nodes, I always check for the other one to see where it comes, to see if it comes up in a second model and where. And I did check next week's. It doesn't show up there, but it did show up in the monthly, so I do want to talk about that. So again, I do stutter sometimes. Mars and Mercury, courage to learn, courage to ask questions, courage to chase your curiosities. It's helping you to make yourself, it's helping you to become aware, creating interest in and awareness of how you hold yourself back with past dramas. Really, this math concept seems really interesting. Man, in the past, I thought I sucked at math. Who cares? I'm going to try to figure this out. It's leaving the drama of the past behind. You're telling yourself that you can't learn something, but now you know what, you've got the courage to try to do the work. You know what? I'm going to leave that drama behind, forget about it, let it go, so that I can learn what really interests me. And that supports you becoming your authentic self and you becoming more of who you really are. The shadow, that war of words, words can hurt. Fear of learning, thinking that words that wound, a fear of learning what you want to because you'll be made fun of, etc. How is that supporting? How is that fueling the dramas of the past? People have already always called it, bullied you, called you stupid or whatever, and so you just rehash like, I can't do this. And I've seen kids. I'm a school teacher. I see kids do this all the time. Words create your reality. I get off my soapbox for that, but and Gemini can be very fast, a very fast energy. So it's a feeling of this feeling overwhelmed, fueling these fears that lead to the dramas of the past reenacting themselves. And that supports, instead of you fulfilling your destiny and your purpose, either denying it or you're acting out, you're denying it and selling it out to the expectations of others, giving up on it, or acting it out in the most irrational and eccentric way possible. So quite damaging and wounding there. Okay, what else? Did I have anything else? And late, and on Tuesday as well. On Tuesday as well. I'm sorry. It was actually earlier in the day. The moon did enter Cancer earlier in the day. I kind of got my stuff out of order in the blog. That's life. A moon in Cancer. Emotionally, you're sharing your needs. You're learning self-care. You're focusing on the care of the soul, meeting your emotional needs, and opening yourself up to healers and opportunities to rest. And that can work very well with Mercury. And in the shadow, the moon is irrational, emotional, and in Cancer, defensive, swiping at people, being emotional over the top, so to speak. But being emotional, defensive, trying to hide away, or just acting out. Okay. Now let's see. I'm going to close this out. Oops. I'll clear it out with the next. And you know what? Nope. Close enough for government work. Doodle tool. Okay. I'm going to cover the moon right before I do the eclipse. So this is going to go just a touch out of order, but it's going to streamline a little bit because I'll be covering the moon with the eclipse. So first we have Mercury again sextile. We have Mercury sextiling Uranus and Mercury sextiling Venus. So Mercury in Cancer, again, learning to express your needs, learning how to take care of yourself, creating a sextile to Uranus. And in that sextile is creating an interest in you becoming more authentic. And how are you finding the peace? And as you're learning self-care, how is that creating an interest in you finding in your being more authentic to who you are? Maybe even authentic in expressing your needs and finding the peace and strength that comes from that. In the shadow, again, the person is irrational. Mercury can be distracted, mentally defensive, in the moon, emotional and defensive, and that creates a sense of nervousness, and that fuel, that sense of that fuel, that sense of nervousness can fuel the shadow of Uranus, which is either that eccentric self acting out to get a reaction from people or selling out to fit in. You okay? I'm fine. Not going to tell you what's really hurting because I don't want people to, whatever. Or you're that bull in the china shop. And that other sextile that we have is Mercury sextiling Venus. So as you're learning self-care, how is that helping you to improve your ability to connect with others as you're learning self-care, learning to rest, learning to pause? How is that helping you with your creativity? How is taking a break from people a good thing? Sometimes we do need to be alone. Taking a break from a relationship and then being able to come back and see it in a whole new way. Or maybe you're just chilling out and say, hey, everybody, I'm just chilling at home. Come on, let's watch a Lord of the Rings movie marathon, and then finding out how many of your friends actually like Lord of the Rings, and you're all sitting there nerding out to Lord of the Rings and having a Hobbit feast. The shadow again, mentally defensive, fueling your ability, your desire to try to manipulate and control people, or and it's an unrealistic expectation. You think that you're going to be able to do that, or producing fake art, or not doing art at all. Just punching a prompt into AI, or not even doing anything, not even doing that little, just throwing it out and giving up, saying I'll never be a good artist anyway. It's that unrealistic expectation. Can't do it. Give up. I quit. So, and letting it go. Okay, so now we're going to hit on this eclipse. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is the moon. So this is going to be a new moon eclipse. There are several layers to this. Part one is the sun conjunct the moon. So, and this is in Leo. So the moon in Leo is you're learning to express your emotions. You're learning to express yourself, stand up, be seen, be willing to share what you're feeling appropriately with other people. And because it's conjunct the moon, it's conjunct the sun, the moon can be a journey. It can also be thought of a journey of healing. So as you're learning to express that on the stage for all people to see, it can be a healing experience and heal the ego. You came here to learn how to have a healthy ego. All these people who bash the ego, you came here learn how to have a healthy ego and express it appropriately. So the moon conjunct the sun is learning to express its needs to others in an appropriate manner. Conjunct the south node. Now, as you can see here, it's not very close. If I were where it's actually going to be a full full solar eclipse. I'm sorry, a full solar eclipse. These three would be right on top of each other. So if I was in Europe, these three would be slam bang to each other. I'm here in Western New York. I'm not going to see the full eclipse. So this will be a partial eclipse for us here. But that conjunction to the south node, you're becoming aware of how you hold yourself back with pointless drama. So your emotional self, how being over the top emotionally holds you back, how being over the top egotistically is holding you back and hurting you. You're becoming aware of that so that you can change it. So this is you being able to heal, becoming aware of this pointless drama that's actually debilitating for you and being able to release it. How do you heal it? You reflect on the North Node in Aquarius, your authentic purpose and journey. So look at it again. Look at this in your natal chart, because where the North Node is in your natal chart tells you your life's destiny, your life's purpose. It's like, what am I supposed to do with my life? North Node, what's the sign? Start with that. So as you focus on what? And you reflect on your authentic purpose. So this is how I hold myself back. How do I move forward? Let me reflect on what my authentic purpose in life is. Focus on that, bring that into awareness, and that becomes a very healing and experience. The shadow here is an emotional, egotistical, spoiled brat having a temper tantrum on a megaphone into a PA system. So that's one. That's the over the top. You can also try to hide away and not be seen. That wounded child that doesn't want to express itself, hide away. Hey, we're having a birthday party. Where's the birthday boy? Don't know. He's in one of his hiding places having a temper tantrum and not wanting to be around people. And falling into that shadow leads to an imbalance that pulls you away from your destiny, your purpose. You're either acting out, you're selling out, you're giving up on it, you're quitting on it. Life gets pulled out of balance and you're losing purpose, you're losing destiny, and just being caught up in this egotistical child. There we go. And let me clear all that out, clear all drawings, close. I'm going to pull this over here, hopefully. There we go. Yes. And then I'm going to pull this here. All right. Thursday, no new transits. We got some endings, a lot of things coming to an end. Friday. We're at the end of the day, Friday. Yes. Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. Mercury is, like I said, Mercury in Cancer was learning to meet your needs, and Jupiter is developing self-confidence. What else did I have on that? Nuts. Yeah. Jupiter is developing self-confidence. So you're learning to have the confidence to express your needs, have the confidence to take the break, pull back, chill out, relax. The shadow here is that the mind gets out of control, mentally defensive, moody, and this fuels a crisis of confidence. And the crisis of confidence can be over the top, taking swipes at people, defensive, attacking them verbally, or in the other shadow, lack of confidence, trying to hide away, not express your needs, just go take care of everybody else. I'll be fine. Just leave me alone. So the shadow here, over the top, swiping at people, or too confident, too many words, just incessantly talking, or trying to hide away. And late Friday night, we also have the moon entering Virgo. This is you're looking at your emotional skills and how can you improve them. I would say I very much like to say developing emotional skills, emotional intelligence, and look at what your responsibilities are. This will give you ideas to where you can develop, where and what you need to develop, and how. The shadow here is falling into perfectionism, which fuels pessimism, and the moon can be moody, emotional, and just blowing up and getting caught up in worry and endless self-criticism, and this just holds you down and holds you back in life. And late on Saturday, we have two transits. We have Mars in Gemini, squaring squaring Neptune retrograde. And again, we said, confidence in expressing your interests, confidence for you to speak up and express yourself, confidence to learn what you're interested in. Squares are challenges that are strengthening. How is this strengthening your connection to your higher self, your spiritual self, spiritual elements of your life? The shadow here is that fear-driven war of words where you're attacking people, or you're not speaking up for yourself, not pursuing your own interests. The square becomes a stumbling block, and Pisces in Neptune retrograde in Pisces, falling away and dissolving away. This is all fantasy. Trying to numb the pain and living in this fantasy that somehow people are trying to block you from what it is you want to do. It's an idle fantasy, an emptiness. And what's this other? Oh, yeah, there is a break here in the Chiron trining the South Node. What happens there is sometimes it goes just a little bit beyond one degree of exact, and it slips right back in. I'm not going to cover that. We already covered that. With the nodes of the moon, they do move retrograde. That is their natural movement. Half of the day they're retrograde, half of the day they're progressing forward. So it's kind of weird, but that's just the way it is. That's okay. And then let me close this out. I'm going to jump to the end of the day to get both of those. And first, whoops, we have Venus sextiling Jupiter. So as you're becoming more skilled in your relationships, how is this creating for you the opportunity to rest, opportunity to heal, opportunity for you to nurture and care for yourself? Becoming more skilled in relationships, how is this restorative for you? What opportunities, and how is this fueling self-confidence as well? Also, as you're developing your creative self, your artistic side, as you're developing your artistic side, how is this creating the opportunity and developing self-confidence and helping you to rest and calm down and take a break? And again, shadow here. Driven for perfectionism, trying to control people, pushing for unrealistic expectations of relationships, and they can be very shallow and superficial, or just faking the creativity, plagiarizing creativity, or not being creative at all. This creates a sense of nervousness that fuels a crisis of confidence and defensiveness. And that crisis of confidence can be over the top, attacking people, overconfident. I know what I'm talking about. How dare you tell me, and take swipes at people. Or it can be underconfident. You just try to hide away and not be seen. And last but not least, when I went to make the graphic for today, I was like, wait a minute, what the heck is this new one? Because when I did my transits earlier, it wasn't here. So this just popped up. And again, Mercury in Cancer. Trining Saturn retrograde. As you're learning self-care and speaking up for your needs, how is this helping you to mature spiritually? And remember, this is retrograde, so this is a point of reflection, and this is also internal work. So, learning to take a break, how can that be a spiritually mature thing to do? The shadow, the out of control mind, rigid, defensive, swiping at people, even attacking them, or trying to hide away, being invisible. How is this leading a slippery slope downhill to, and Saturn can be very control freak. You know, do it. I tell you, you're living in this fantasy thing that you can control situations or control people. Um, Almost in a way similar to Venus and Virgo. Different perspective, but nonetheless, Saturn can be very pessimistic, very controlling, focused on, get lost in pessimism, and this fuels fantasy, and you're just trying to numb the pain. So as you're becoming mentally defensive, you know, falling into this rigid mindset, and just trying to numb the pain, escape it, or even just live in a fantasy that you can control something that cannot be controlled at all. And that's our week. There's a lot happening. I was hoping to get this down, and I just don't think I did it. Whoops, I need this. And having one hand that just gets numb all too quick. Oops. So there you go. Do follow me on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, where I do post daily deep dives and explore these more deeply. As you're watching this on YouTube, these three make billions of dollars off your data. Digital Soul Space, hosted on the Mighty Networks, is now free, donation-based only. They're kind of running it like PBS, where they ask you a couple times in the year, hey, if you value this, throw us a couple of bucks. All the work on maintaining the site is done voluntarily by Michael Robert. It's the spiritual safe space of the internet. It's a bully-free zone, 4 great moderators that keep the peace. And like, if somebody's posting something inappropriate, they address it quickly. A couple of months ago, somebody tried posting porn. I didn't even know it happened. They actually posted a message. The moderator, Michael, posted a message saying, "This is what somebody was doing. We tore it. We took it all down. We posted it. Banned the person. Blocked the email." So it's a spiritual safe space. I do astrology, but there's people do tarot, crystals, wide variety of oracle decks, wide variety of spiritual practitioners and spiritual pursuits. It's just an amazing place to hang out, ask questions. People will share what they know. Great place to be. And I do offer readings, and yeah, so I do a quick 6 if you want to see how your chart changes from tropical to true sky sidereal. 6 key points that are a foundation. Focus on them. It's a good start. If you want to know what your birth contract is in evolutionary astrology, your birth chart is not who you are, but who you came here to become. I can help you understand that with a birth or a natal chart reading. I also do what's called a karmic or a past life reading, which focuses on the nodes of the moons exclusively. And that's if you feel like you're being held back in life, this help you understand the archetype, how it shows up in your life, and then secondly, how you can heal it. If you believe in past lives, this is a past life that's reappearing in this lifetime, and how it can appear, and then again, how you can heal it. But if you're a one and done, and I have done this for people, one and done, this is a special lesson you came to learn, and this is how you master that lesson and address it. I also do horoscopes any 12 months in a row, any 3 months in a row, or any 1 month, any 30 days. I have people who like the new moon to new moon, and there are people who like first of the month to the last of the month. And I do packages, and my summer hours are now available. I believe it's Tuesday through Friday, available 1 o'clock through 5 o'clock. Got to eat dinner. So that's up until August 28th, and then school kicks back in, and I will be back to school, and it'll be evenings only. If those hours do not work for you, please email me, and we will work something out for you. I try to be flexible. So thank you very much for watching this. Like, follow, share, sign up for the newsletter. It's a pop-up on my email or pop-up on my website. All I need is an email address. Excuse me. Where you get all this information first. Who in the world is this? another cat. All this, you get all these insights first, plus additional insights. Um, Plus, if you're a subscriber, I give a discount for on all individual readings, not packages. Packages have the discount built in. So do like, follow, share, sign up for the newsletter. Remember, in the visible sky, your life changes. Have the best week possible. Have a positive spiritual eclipse experience. And here, I got to make sure who I'm holding. Let me check. There's the mark. Here's your kitten commercial. This here is Little Mittens. He's all black. He's got the little tuxedo mark on his throat, which he's not going to show you. But he's a short hair with the white marks all across his four paws. Friendly little tyke. Likes to jump on me and he purrs a lot. So thank you very much. Have yourself the best week possible. Thank you.